Alright, dude, in this fantasy anime, you're gonna meet Kyle, who's no fool of a main character. Even though he's kind and strong, he doesn't chicken out when it counts and jumps into a fight without holding back. Come with me into new Saga and stick around till the end. So let's get to the recap. In this fantasy world, there are humanoids like humans, elves, and dwarves who are blessed by light. Demons have a smaller population and are blessed by darkness, being stronger than the humanoids. These two forces have been clashing for millennia and split the vast continent of Leanders between east and west. However, one day, a cool demon king took the throne and Leanders had peace for about 300 years. The humanoids got used to a temporary peace. But in the 5th month of 2826, the peace was shattered. Under the orders of a new demon king, his army attacked the humanoids full force, and in the future this event would be known as the Great Invasion. The humanoids fell one by one. And the next year, 2827, the Gargan Empire, which had the humanoids' greatest military power, was wiped out for good. One day, the humanoids gathered their remaining strength and invaded demon territory in a final attempt to send the Demon King to end the war. The heroes group sacrificed themselves one by one to clear a path for Kyle, who, with his last ounce of power, managed to pierce the Demon King and win. But it cost him everything. Everyone Kyle loved was gone. When he was about to say goodbye to this world, a red light appeared from a magic stone. Kyle gets up and goes to it because he can't let its power run wild. But upon touching it, he wakes up in his house. In his room, everything is normal, and a girl named Lisa comes in. She moves the boy Kyle, who gives her a tight, loving hug. He thinks it's a dream and is way too happy to see her. He even grabs her butt, that shameless guy, and they almost get to business, which drives Lisa crazy and she shakes Kyle up. Everyone Kyle knows, like Theron, is alive and younger. Kyle goes to his mom, who is an archmage, and asks if there's any spell that turns back time. She says yes, but it would only be possible with the magic stone, that is the heart of the divine dragon, which would store the life force of thousands of people to turn into magical power. And this stone was used by the ancient magical kingdom of Charles, which prospered for 1,000 years thanks to the magical item. But the power ran out and led the kingdom to ruin. However, in this time where Kyle is, the stone is said to be lost, but he's got it stashed away with him. Later, in a conversation with Lisa, he remembers when the demons invaded the village and destroyed everything. That's how he lost Lisa, and from that moment he swore to avenge her death. In 3 years the invasion will begin, so Kyle needs to do something so the tragedy doesn't repeat. He swears he will change his future and the world's future. Kyle is doing a simulation training with his boosted magical power, but his body can't keep up with this evolution. Theron and Lisa don't know what's wrong with Kyle, because he's been like this since yesterday. Then Theron's mom Layla arrives. She asks if her foolish son came asking for help again. Then she sees Kyle training and notices he's different. Nobody gets why a guy who wanted an easy life living off his parents' inheritance suddenly got so hard and working. Layla says a boy only changes like that because of a woman, which makes Lisa crazy jealous. She goes up to Kyle and with a pissed off face asks who Kyle is messing around with. The kid gets so sickened he even pukes. At lunch, Kyle asks his teacher Layla about who would have the power to influence a nation. She says someone like the great hero Randolph could do that, or a king, or a high priest. So, with that answer, Kyle decides to become a hero to change the future. He tells Lisa he can't take her into danger on this journey, but promises to come back safe and sound. He even gives her a kiss. So then Lisa agrees. Going shopping, Kyle meets the elf, who died for him in the invasion of the Demon King's castle. The two had a thing in the future, and she told him her true name, X's. The elf hears this, and it causes trouble, because a stranger said her true name out of nowhere. Urza is pissed and wants to know how a human discovered her true name, which only she and her parents know. Urza agrees to help Kyle, provided they make a pact in about 15 days to ensure he doesn't spill her name around. The group of Lisa, Theron, Urza, and Kyle head for the Charles ruins to find a hidden treasure. The group put in a heck of an effort digging and using magic. Later that night, they go eat some good meat stew. Lisa and Urza go take a bath in the hot springs Urza created with her water spirit. Undine. Lisa says Urza doesn't need to worry about her true name, because even though Kyle is hiding something, he'd never hurt anyone. So Lisa plans to wait until Kyle tells everything. Urza and Lisa get closer, and Lisa sees she has a heart-shaped mark on her butt and thinks it's really cute. Meanwhile, Theron is dying to peek at the girls in the bath, but Kyle doesn't let him. The next day, while Kylo is digging, Urza asks why he wants to be a hero, and notes that the rings he wears are part of his training. They increase Kylo's body weight by 2 or 3 times, so he can improve his physical fitness. That said, Kyle finds the Charles ruins, and upon breaking the wall, there lies the treasure of the Lost Empire. Theron goes crazy and immediately dives into the gold coins. They hit the jackpot here. Kyle goes to a special room and finds his magic sword, his old partner. The sword takes the form of a girl and is impressed that a human reached this place. The sword thanks Kyle for getting there, but he tells her to be quiet or his friends might hear. Kyle reveals she is a copy of King Sildonia, a Carls, in personality and wisdom, who reigned during the peak of the ancient magical kingdom created by the king himself. The sword doesn't know how Kyle has this knowledge and gets curious. Kyle explains later and says he dug a tunnel to avoid the ruins traps to get there. Kyle then goes to pull the sword and says she soon know who he is. Now reunited with his longtime partner, she sees all of Kyle's memories from the future, and that he possesses the heart of the divine dragon. Lisa and the others arrive, and Kyle asks the sword to follow his flow and hide. Then Sildonia introduces herself and eats the biscuits Lisa gives her, then explains she is a part of King Sildonia, created with magic to assess who is truly worthy of his treasure. Everything she ingests is converted into magical power. Sildonia also froze her age when she reached her peak power. Later, the group goes to a super high-quality weapon shop to buy more equipment. Kaya gets a dragon skin armor, enchanted with all kinds of defensive magic. At night, Urza comes to Kyle to conclude the application pact because of his true name. Normally, in an application pact, people swear their names to each other, and it's done in elf marriages. Urza certainly never thought she'd make a pact with someone she met 15 days ago. She calls Kyle to the circle and starts performing the pact. Urza forbids Kyle from sharing her name and using it for evil. That said, the dude gets closer and kisses her. Thinking that's how you seal the pact and believing that's how he did it last time, Urza pushes him away and says that's only for wedding ceremonies. Then, pissed off, she might even make a pact with a salamander, the fire spirit, to burn Kyle to a crisp. The next day, the group goes to the next city and meets Princess Milena, who was paying a visit. The people surround the carriage and are super happy Her Highness is there. Princess Milena of Zergus is smiling and attentive to the people and the next heir to the throne. She even helps the little child who fell to give her a bouquet of flowers. Kyle observes the soldier escorting her, who is Zento Sildonia, asks if this is the same princess, and Kyle says it's her, the one who will die in 2 days, at just 16 years old. Sildonia asks Kyle to explain how the princess kicks the bucket. He says in 2 days, Princess Milena will be passing with her caravan on the road from Arkan to Sane's village. The monster that attacks is a hydra. The forests near Arkan have always been infested with monsters, being very dangerous. So much so that Sane's village was attacked by a hydra a month ago. Upon hearing this, the princess went to Arkan, and then on to Sane's village, where she is attacked. Kyle says this can only be the result of her recklessness. But there were rumors her death was caused by Milena's half-brother, Prince Karina, who, being second to the throne, would gain a lot from Milena's death. He's in the city, but stays reclusive to not draw attention. Kyle then decides to rescue the princess when the time comes for his legend as a hero to begin. Kyle fights the Hydra, which is resistant to explosions, and it spits poison at Kyle. But he defends icily and cuts one of the beast's heads off, but it's useless with its regeneration. Urza and Lisa are dealing with the wolves, but are worried about Kyle. Theron can't take the creature's persistence anymore. Meanwhile, Kyle uses everything in his arsenal to defeat the creature. He cuts another head, but it regenerates really fast. Then Kyle uses a special piercing strike and attacks the creature's chest. He gets stuck on it and puts something shiny inside the Hydra, but is thrown far away. Then the Hydra explodes from the inside because of several explosive stones Kyle placed inside the beast. His plan worked really well, and Sildonia says it was a very smart and powerful blow. Kyle returns to the group, but he stinks to high heaven, making Urza and Lisa move away from him. So he throws water on his body to see if it improves. Princess Milena and her ladies-in-waiting are unconscious, so Urza gives them antidotes. Theron found the item that made the creatures attack the princess. It was all a setup, and as expected, her half-brother, Prince Karina's, is behind it. General Zentos Ordi sends a message to dispatch a squad. That said, Princess Milena wakes up and wonders if she's still alive. She thought she'd never wake up again and asks if they were her saviors. Kyle kneels and introduces himself to Her Majesty, saying they saved her from monsters. One of her ladies wakes up and tries to protect her princess from strangers, but Milena says it's okay and thanks them for everything. Sildonia, in her bird form, warns Kyle that the King's Guard is approaching. So Milena says they need to flee, otherwise they're screwed. And she says Captain Zentos is the one who wants her dead. Milena asks her lady to burn the bodies to destroy the evidence. Kyle's group, along with the princess and her ladies, escape by carriage. Milena says they will have help if they buy enough time for her personal Curran battalion to find the princess. Kyle says this could lead the Quran battalion to a confrontation with the 2nd Battalion. So Melina says with the 5th Battalion, the forces will be balanced. Theron says they can hide in Sane's village, but Kyle says that could risk the citizens' lives. Therefore, they need to go back to Arkan and will cross through the enemy platoon head-on. Sildonia, in Falcon form, doesn't spot the Zentos that Kyle asked her to look for. Since he isn't there, they can make a good plan and the chances of success are high. The princess's carriage gets close to the enemy, setting an ambush. But explosive stones fall from the sky and wreck their formation. Kyle and the group go straight through. Urza uses her spirits for cover, and Theron throws more explosive stones. The captain sends the rest of his men after them. However, one of the carriage wheels breaks. So Kyle says one of them needs to stay behind to deal with the 30 remaining royal guards. Kyle and the others move forward, and Theron stays to send everyone to hell. Said and done, he wipes them all out without any effort. Kyle and Lisa tell Urza that Theron is much more skilled than him. When it's time to fight for real, the guy is ruthless. The royal guard keeps losing men until only 8 are left. Theron says he only needs to delay them and says there's no way they can catch up to his group anymore. The guards give up and leave. Theron drinks a potion and throws some explosive stones to finish them off for good. Playing dirty, the guy cheats and doesn't care. He never intended to let any of them live. Meanwhile, Zentos realized someone is interfering with the plan. So he himself heads to the battlefield, and Sildonia spots him from the skies. She says a single knight is heading towards Kyle, and then Sildonia is attacked by an energy beam from Zentos. The guy has eagle vision. Kyle tells Princess Melina to hide. She knows Zentos is coming, and Kyle says he'd prefer to avoid a fight with him. So he asks for the princess's permission to handle this. Melina is curious about Kyle's manner, as he seems to know the situation very well. So she wishes the hero luck, and Kyle swears he will win. Zentos meets Kyle. He doesn't want to lose any more men and says he'll solve everything himself, sending everyone to hell. Kyle says he'd better surrender because he doesn't want to kill him. He asks why he wants to end Princess Melina, but Zentos says he doesn't need to know that, then draws his sword for the duel. Kyle does the same, and the fight begins with a quick advance from both. Kyle dodges Zentos' strike, who is impressed. Kyle remembers Zentos' fighting style very well, because he was the one who taught him how to be a magical swordsman in the future. If you want part 2 of the anime, my dude, drop a like and comment. Theron is the man. That it'll come to the channel. Subscribe to show support. Hit the bell and check the cards for more questionable Thanks for the constant support and peace out.